Interviews with business owners and veteran executives who share their wisdom and expertise to help you de-stress, free up time, and make more money. Profits of IT. Welcome back to the podcast today, Profits of IT. I'm Jim Punzenberger. I am the founder of Neutron Solutions, and we help IT companies generate leads and appointments without cold calling or ad spend. Today I have Karim with me. Why don't you introduce yourself, Karim?
Hi, Jim. So thank you for reaching out, and I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun here. So my name is Karim Ben Jaafar. I am the president and COO of Beanworks. Beanworks was recently acquired by Quadient, which is, I think, why Jim we got on his radar. And it's a local tech Vancouver company. We were founded 10 years ago. I came in on 4 years ago, the invitation of our CEO, Catherine Dull, who asked me to come in and take a darling product that was built by accountants for accountants and see if we can scale a 16-person team into a global powerhouse. So when I joined, it was, I think it was employee 17. We had about $70,000 in recurring revenue. And 4 years later, we did pretty good, and we were acquired by a European company whom now I work for. The whole company works for Quadient. They bought 96% of the company for, I think, 88 million US. The reason it's 90 million US, but there's a mechanism there where they own 100% over the next few years. So the official press release says, I think it's 88 million US for 96% of the company. So not bad for 4 years worth of work. And a small team. So we're very excited about it. And what that does for us, the reason we agreed to this acquisition is Quadient has a wonderful distribution network, incredibly customer centric. They have this strategy of back to growth, which is providing all of their customers with business process automation. So combining multiple software tools that all talk to each other, all support each other to go into the businesses of our joint customers and to say we're going to process pretty much everything that has to do, automate pretty much everything that has to do with your business processes. So AP, accounts payable, we do, AR, another YayPay, which Quadient bought. So the AP, AR, same side of the different coin, same coin, different sides, and communication, customer support, customer success, all part of one integrated platform over time. And it's exciting, and they're in every country. Phenomenal team, customer-centric, customer-obsessed like we are. So it was a perfect marriage. And that's what we've been doing the last 4 years. And the Quadient acquisition of Beanworks is the capstone to that 4-year journey. But now a new 4-year journey begins, of which we want to bring value to the marketplace, especially Quadient customers, and adding new Quadient customers all over the world.
Cool, got it. Okay, Karim. So what would you say is your IT or your superpower when it comes to business? What do you say is that something that you do better than most, and how can others learn from your superpower?
So if you ask me that after this is my 4th exit, and by far the most exciting, the most engaged, and I'm honored that Quadient's asked me to stick around and see if we can continue our success, which we will. But if you asked me that question after my 2nd exit, I would have talked about growth. I would have talked about my marketing engine, my revenue engine, customer success, all the skills you pick up. And then in my last company, before this, I realized that those skills are interchangeable. Like you could learn everything that I've learned in 10 years now. If you spend a couple afternoons on YouTube watching way smarter people than me, way more successful people than me, just give the keys to the kingdom. Like listen to podcasts like you're doing, Jim, and providing feedback. And then I thought, like, why is it that where I've been successful, I've been successful. And I think about it, and fundamentally, if I have one superpower, it has never been what I bring to the table. It's always been the ability to just work well with the team and put a team of synergistic people together who play off each other's strengths and weaknesses. And that's collaborative as well. So I know this may seem one of those, touchy-feely dodges where, oh, it's not me, it's the team. It is. It's exactly that. And if you're going to create a rapid growth company, and I don't even like the word startups anymore, There's a phase where startups are no longer startups, but they still have that called the scrappy startup mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I just call that rapid growth. When you're in a rapid growth environment, a cohesive team that supports each other, that follows, like if you read Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of the team, that follow that methodology and are purpose driven and have the right level of coordination, that is the only thing I do anymore. So as a leader, I would say that my superpower is simply this. It's recognizing greatness and removing roadblocks. That's all I do all day. You hire the right people, give them the right structure, align them, and then you simply remove any roadblocks they have, and you recognize, what they're doing well, so they do more of it. And I was going to write like 100-page book on how to build a growth engine and then a turnkey. And ultimately, it changes every month or every couple months. Some things that I've learned, I realize that worked 6 months ago, it doesn't work as well today. So that knowledge is changing. But the one thing that doesn't change is the immutable principles of how do you create and how do you manage a team of high functioning individuals who then, only require you to support them. And that's it. So, maybe not as satisfying of a silver bullet answer as I would have answered a few years ago when I really thought it was about these cool growth methodologies that I felt me and only a small cabal of other growth experts knew. That's not the case at all. That stuff comes and goes, and you learn and you stay in the game and you pick up your skills. But pretty much anybody who's in a learning loop could get that information. Any person listening to me right now, if I recommended 5 books and a couple podcasts and a couple speakers and a couple courses you can take online, within a couple months, you'll know everything I learned in the last 10 years plus. But the thing that I recommend everybody does is become an expert at building teams and supporting those teams. And I think you'll win.
So, any tips on becoming that expert in that you're talking about now? If I have a team myself, but maybe I'm relatively new to the running a team role. How can I what can I do to improve myself as the leader of the team?
So I'll say the obvious thing, and then I'll say hopefully something that might be new to the audience. So the obvious thing is, you want A players, but say what does that mean? It's to recognize that A players are A players only at maybe 3 to 5% of all companies in the world. So myself, if I am an A player here, I most certainly wouldn't be in 95% of the other companies. And the way you determine an A player is, let's say you have a 3x3 grid, where you put at the bottom, this person here is most of the time above their targets, whatever those are, and that could be any role, engineering, coding, quality, you name it, doesn't matter. You say, well, this person did good this month. How often would you say that happens? 10 months out of 12, fantastic. That's you'll never perfect all the time, but that's good. So that puts you in the most of the time over target. Then you have sometimes over target, and then you have hardly ever over target. There you go. That's the grid of performance. You don't have to be too KPI metrics. You don't have to go crazy with your OKRs. Just very simple. Just that gut feel. This person is most of the time, doing what we were hoping they would do or better. And that's a 3. A 2 would be, 50-50. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And other times this person hardly ever, achieves the results that the job required. And then the other axis, the y-axis, you put the values. How often does this person display company values? Most of the time, sometimes, hardly ever. And your 3x3s, so your A players are those in the top right grid. They're most of the time representing the values of the company and most of the time hitting their targets. And that's who you want to work with. Now, the values is very important because the targets are explanatory, right? If you can't measure it, then the person doesn't know if they're winning or losing. But that's basic management. Everybody knows this. The secret sauce is in the values. And the values is it has to be falsifiable. So for example, if one of your company's values is honesty, well, name me a company in the world that would say, well, we're dishonest. So right. Values is something that some companies would embrace and some companies would reject. So let's say a value would be like when we have at Beanworks is never accept the status quo. That is a value of ours. We want employees to challenge the way we do things. But if you work at Amazon, that is not one of their values. One of their values is, it's a formal value. It's like your manager's often right. And that's not arrogance. Amazon thinks through everything. So if you're going to go to Amazon and say, hey, I have this really good idea, I got my toothbrush in the mail and it came in a very large box, and why can't we do smaller boxes? Say, well, it's because we actually pack logistically our truck, so that way there's no movement in the shipping to reduce damages, and it's ergonomic. So I appreciate that you spend 6 hours of your time researching box sizes so people could get smaller packages, but we've thought this through carefully, and we need you to follow the roadmap, right? So at a company so that's a value that if you like to challenge, you like to debate, you like to get in there and come up with your ideas, there's certain companies where that's not going to work, and other companies where
Right.
it's not just your duty, it's your responsibility. Like, you have to challenge the status quo. You're not going to fit in. So that's an example of like a falsifiable value. That is we'll call it morally neutral. It's not morally good or morally bad, but it's a value. So if you structure your values the right way and you have clear measures of somebody's performance, the best thing you can do is make sure that the entire department, your entire company is filled with A players, and B players are those who high on perform and who or fall short once in a while, but always high on values. Because remember, you can coach somebody to better performance, but you can't coach values. So you have your A players and B players who are coached into A's. Like I fall into the B category, everybody's fall in the B category, but you get back in the A, and everybody else, they don't belong, and you should have never hired them in the first place, and you gotta let them go. So that, but I'm not blowing anybody's mind here, because you read Scaling Up, uh, you read Good to Great. Like there's all these things that helps you find A
Mhm.
players. If I have a secret sauce, so that's about what it's like to create a great team and what you can do to support them, that's just table stakes. What I mentioned earlier about the values, about the 3x3 grid of 8 players. Here's the one that is a little controversial, but I wouldn't do it any other way. And I've a lot of learning, a lot of failures have really crystallized my commitment to this way of managing. Um, I tell people that there's nothing, you have no faults. You're just in the wrong environments. So if you're 7 feet tall and you're trying to be a jockey, you're always going to feel like a failure.
Right.
It's I can't tell somebody 7 feet tall to try to be less taller. Like if you just worked on your height a little bit, you could be a jockey. It's not how it works. You put yourself in an environment to fail. All the rewards in life don't come from being a 3 out of 10 in something, and working your ass off, and sacrificing and taking courses and really working on that part, and then doubling your performance and becoming a 6 out of 10. Nobody hires a 6 out of 10. You The rewards of life go from being a 9.2 to 9.25. It's putting all your efforts into that little bit of progress of where you're already good. But that only works if you're in an environment that loves you for those attributes that you have. So I'll give you like an actual example of this. So we had an employee who was incredibly sensitive, and in her role, when she was interacting with customers, she would have a lot of stress, and she would say, like, I I I can't handle this. And then her old manager was like, no, you need to toughen up. So I was like, wait a minute, that breaks my principle of. And by the way, when I say I have no faults, it's not a religious statement. Like I don't mean it in such an absolute sense that no matter what you do, you're perfect. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in your core competencies, there's things that you have a certain. We're not evenly distributed, so you have a fluctuation of different traits. Put yourself in an environment where all of your traits are useful, and focus on those, and only put effort in developing those who are already at the top of the spectrum to get a little bit better.
Uh,
So she was told she's too sensitive for the this, and she had to toughen up. But we did say, no. Why don't we put you, instead of dealing with frontline support, why don't we you're dealing with customer success, where people aren't calling in when they're stumbling over something. You're actually calling them to check in with how they're doing on the product, to see if there's more value, if you can do more trainings. So your superpower, what your old manager told you were bad because you're too sensitive, I'm saying your superpower is empathy. You connect with people on such an intuitive level that you actually feel what they're feeling. Why the hell would I tell you to do less of that? Let me just put you in an environment where being
right.
short was actually a superpower, where you're a jockey now, you weigh less, that's actually a good thing. So she started calling customers who didn't have an issue, and just checking in, and oh my God, our CSAT score went up. People realized there was better ways to use the product. They became brand advocates, and all of a sudden we created this great community around her work of just calling people and really engaging with them on how they're using the product. So again, to kind of go through all of this word salad, it's not telling people to be something that they're not because their job requires them to be that. Put them in another role, as long as they're the A player, right? In which their weaknesses now are strengths, and their strengths, turn the volume the hell up on that, like all the way up. You were a 9 on empathy, I need you to be a 10 on empathy. Don't toughen up, be even more vulnerable. And that's one of like 1,000 examples I can give you of actually seeing your employees not as strengths and weaknesses, but as long as, again, they meet the table stakes and they're the A player quadrant, put them in an area where their weaknesses are strengths, and have them spend all their time getting just a little bit better. And again, we've all heard this example a million times. The gold medalist is someone who's only like 0.1% better than the person you've never heard of. So why are you trying to go from something, from very low score to a mild score to a passable score? Spend all your time on getting 0.1% better at the things that give you all the reward in life. So I guess those are two concepts. One is very obvious. Everybody does the A player exercise to some degree, and the other one is maybe just a different way of looking at things.
Right. So essentially finding what their strength is and basing them for their strength, not try to tell them to get better in something that that's not their strength.
Yeah, change their environment. Don't change them. And by the way, that came, and I forgot the name of the author. It came from a book called The Freak Factor. It's a pretty hostile name. That's kind of book. Well, why would you call the freak? But he's a very warm, caring, first of all, marvelous speaker. And I'm not doing him justice. I forgot his name, but he wrote an amazing book on this, and that blew my mind and got me thinking. He's right. All the rewards in life come from being a little bit better at something you're good at, and there are no weaknesses. There are just environments in which somebody would thrive, in which their weaknesses is now a strength. And that changed a lot of my management thinking, and helped me create the environment in which our employees are incredibly happy, and they're only working on the things that they're good, and what they're doing because we changed their environment is what they love to do. So nobody comes to work they love doing it now. So anyways, two things real quick, hopefully. Well, not, I never speak quick, so I apologize. Why use one word when I can use 100? But yeah, two things that I've learned along the way.
Great. Well, thank you for those. So I guess that was very interesting, and I think that's definitely a way that it makes sense that just helping people find their strengths and improve their strengths versus trying to improve their weaknesses would be very beneficial to the business. And do you have any closing remarks before we go here?
No, I just want to thank you, Jim, for reaching out. I wish you the best of luck with your podcast. From what I understand, you're helping business leaders learn from each other, and I thank you for this time together.
Well, thank you. And until the next time on the Profits of IT, have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Profits of IT. Please smash that like button, subscribe, and share.